Now, per Post Wrestling, there was another big story this week. Vince McMahon and Nick Khan have been sanctioned in the ongoing WWE shareholder lawsuit. Again, this is from Post Wrestling. Vince McMahon and his fellow defendants have been dealt a blow in the ongoing shareholder lawsuit related to Endeavor's acquisition of WWE. A group of shareholders is suing McMahon and then WWE board members Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, Michelle Wilson, and George Barrios, alleging that McMahon steered the company's 2023 sale/merger process to Endeavor so that he would end up in a favorable position under the new regime. The claim is that McMahon, with promises from Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel, was influenced to go in this direction instead of considering other bids that would have been more financially beneficial to the company and its shareholders. The trial is scheduled to begin on June 8th, which is coming up pretty quick. Ahead of that, the judge has ruled that McMahon and Khan acted recklessly by using the messaging app Signal and changing their settings so that messages would automatically delete after a short period of time. So basically, they destroyed evidence. As a result of that, the court will treat 5 damaging facts as presumptively true when the case goes to trial next month, meaning the burden of proof has now shifted and the defense will be tasked with showing the following is not true. Number 1, Emanuel's promise to provide Vince with a continued role at any post-merger company after a transaction influenced Vince's decision-making with respect to the merger. Number 2, Emanuel's offer of indemnification and other legal support related to pending federal investigations of Vince's alleged misconduct influenced Vince's decision-making with respect to the merger. Number 3, Vince decided to pursue a transaction with Endeavor in 2022 before the company initiated the strategic review process. Number 4, Khan communicated with Emanuel between August and December of 2022 to facilitate a transaction between WWE and Endeavor. And number 5, Vince and Khan worked with Rain, a banking firm, to steer the process toward a deal with Endeavor and away from other potential bidders. So now the burden, whereas the burden of proof normally would be on the plaintiffs, now it's on the defendants. Bloomberg also reported on this. I'll read from their article here. McMahon and WWE's leaders were instructed twice by their own assistant general counsel to preserve all documents and electronically stored information, including texts and other instant messages. In June of 2022, after the misconduct allegations became public, and in January of 2023, after the WWE began contacting potential bidders. Such holds are routine, and WWE's leadership had a duty to preserve evidence related to Vince's return and a potential sale because they could reasonably have expected litigation to be filed. This is what the judge said. But the wrestling promoter, Khan, and others disregarded those instructions. Amid sale discussions, Khan messaged McMahon, "Langus." McMahon responded, "What in the blue hell is Langus, LOL?" Khan replied, "Read it backwards." The record reveals extensive back-channeling, according to the judge. In most civil lawsuits, the party making the accusations has to prove its claims. The burden is now on the defendants to disprove these 5 facts. And again, those are the facts that I just read to you. But it says the defendants now must disprove these claims by clear and convincing evidence, a higher standard than by a preponderance of the evidence. Had Laster, the judge, not ordered these sanctions. The ruling does not determine whether McMahon, Khan, or the other defendants will be found liable. Laster will ultimately make that decision at some point after the trial, scheduled to take place from June 8th to June 12th. And this shareholder suit will include testimony from McMahon, Khan, Levesque, Emanuel, TKO's Mark Shapiro, and others. Per Brandon Thurston of Post Wrestling, if the plaintiffs prevail at trial or win a settlement, I expect an indication of it in TKO's public financial reporting, especially if it's a big payout, which I can't see the plaintiffs settling for less given the legal fees that have been sunk into this. I think there's an unlikely chance that insurance doesn't cover Nick Khan because of the sanction. Vince is most uncertain because he was the controlling shareholder allegedly extracting benefits for himself. The other shareholders could not benefit from, that being his personal survival in WWE. And speaking of Brandon Thurston, you want to see what real journalism looks like. Thurston is that guy. He has challenged in the past to unseal confidential information in this lawsuit and won those challenges in court. Thousands of pages unsealed. And then recently, WWE asked to withhold some material, including a voicemail sent to Vince McMahon by Ari Emanuel. Thurston opposed that request, and the judge in the case just sided with him and denied WWE's motion to redact or withhold those materials. It says, regarding the audio file, the defendant stated that releasing Emanuel's audio message was unnecessary because the substantive content of the voice notes is already on the record, as the text of the voicemail has been disclosed. Now, if you don't remember, I know I've mentioned this before, but in the voicemail, Ari Emanuel sent to Vince McMahon, he said, I spoke to my lawyer from Latham, just FYI. Everybody at the DOJ is former Latham lawyers, so on that side will be helpful. SEC, of course, is SEC, but that's just the penalty. As it relates to everything else, yes, we can indemnify you, and we will. If it's criminal, of course, you can't stop criminal, but this is not criminal. Call me when you get a chance. So the judge struck this down as insufficient to maintain confidentiality. WWE also argued that the file sharing service didn't support audio files, and while the judge acknowledged that as fact, he said that it wasn't an impediment to sharing the file, which can be submitted in electronic form. See, this is what a journalist does. Nobody else in the wrestling space is doing what Brandon is doing right now, and I hope he keeps at it. As for the trial, I don't know. Look, I don't know if it matters that the WWE stock has gone up exponentially since the sale to Endeavor, because the shareholders are asking for damages here. If the stock has gone way up and the shareholders have made money and they're benefiting from it, how can they argue that they've suffered damages, right? That may not matter so much as the sale process was rigged from the word go. So who's to say what the stock price would be right now, right? If it was a more open and fair process. That's really the argument here. Does it come down to that? Or does the judge, because I don't believe this is a jury trial, it's the presiding judge who will hear all of the arguments and then render a verdict here. I believe that's how this is going to work. Does he just look at the process by which they came to be acquired or the outcome of that sale and say, you weren't really damaged in the end, so therefore you have no case? Because it sure looks like they have a case here. And a lot of these decisions are not going WWE's way and Vince McMahon's way. Now, should the judge side with the shareholders, it doesn't mean the sale is voided. It's not going to be reversed. TKO is still going to own WWE regardless of what happens here. And no one is going to jail. This is not a criminal case. But they could be on the hook for many millions of dollars in damages, most or all of which would likely be covered by insurance, but that may not be the case with Vince himself. But he's got plenty of money. I think he'll be okay.